there's some free stuff that we give. And all the slides, not all, but the free stuff we give are all tied into that QR code.
Okay.
So Don, I'm sorry, am I up first or Don?
You're saying, hey, are you ready to get going? You're the agent, Don's the seller.
At the table.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So Don, after everything I've gone over with you today, are you ready to get started?
Well, Tim, yeah, because we had interviewed another agent before you. We had you lined up, and then just yesterday afternoon, a guy that lives in the neighborhood that has had a lot of sales, and he door knocks, and he comes around like every 3 or 4 months and leaves some information here. In fact, here's what he left us. And this just came up last night. So we're just thinking maybe we should talk to this guy because he lives in the neighborhood, seems to know the area, and no offense, but you don't live here, and maybe we need somebody closer to home.
Well, so let me ask you this. In addition, beside this other person living in the addition who does door knocking like that, is there any other reason why you would hesitate to hire me?
No, I'd say if that hadn't happened, I guess we'd be ready to go. But I guess we want to just explore that option to see if he's got anything different than you do as a neighbor agent. That's it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I mean, with all the things that I do, basically you're looking for an aggressive person. That's really what the question in your mind, right? An aggressive person that wants to get your house sold, right?
Yeah,
So
and this guy.
I'm going to pause you, Tim. I know you're parachuting into the conversation. This is for everybody. That point may have been brought up during the conversation. But he's assuming that, right? However, if you don't know that, you just kind of painted a picture, and it may not be accurate. So, and the reason is you came out with a statement. What's the probability that he says he loves his dog that we're going to be able to say, well, I know exactly what kind of dog you have, right? So ask a question, don't assume.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this, Don. What could I say? What could I say, or what could I do to have you, say, Tim, sign me up?
I think you've done everything you can, and like I said, if this guy hadn't done this last night, we'd be signing up. But you mentioned aggressive, and hey, I think it's aggressive to knock on a door when it's 95 degrees and ask for business. So I thought we might want to talk to him.
Okay.
Are you stuck?
I'm stuck.
Go ahead, Denny.
Well, okay. Would anyone like to take it from there?
Well, would you want to ask would you want to go in for the better way closing and then address that objection?
When you say better way closing, what is that?
So, Don, if you hadn't received that knock on the door yesterday and we were here today, would you be prepared to hire me?
Yeah.
Okay. So you like what you've heard, you like what you've seen.
Yes.
And Don, if you don't mind me asking, what do you imagine you would hear or could hear that would cause you to not want to proceed with me?
Well, I know where he lives. He's around the corner. He can be here real quickly to show the house. And I think again, no offense, but I think he probably knows the models and the floor plans and the neighborhood better than you do.
Oh, hey, Don, I'm going to throw in something we heard this morning. Are you looking for a neighborhood expert or a market expert?
All right.
What do you mean?
So hang on a minute. Hang on. Let's go into, so Louise, all right. So I like the trial close. We still haven't really got to the set of the Tootsie Pop yet. Who can come up with a question that would help him see this a little bit differently. Yes, go ahead, Christina. You're unmuted there.
It's the first time I say something. um, the question is, are you selling to the people in the neighborhood, the buyers that he brings in, are they from the neighborhood? Or are you looking to get buyers from a wider market and to get people from the outside to see your house and proceed with a buying process?
Right. So were you on the call this morning on recon? Okay, so we did talk about that. Here's kind of a little bit of the scenario, and I'm going to go up in 1,000-foot view and give you my thought on this. You can ask, hey, look, if you didn't get the flyer, would you hire me? Yes. Okay, that's a trial closed. That feels great. I guess I would say, Don, are you married?
Yeah, she's right here.
Oh, then I'm afraid to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Let's just assume. Oh, okay. I'd have to know them well enough to do this. So, let's say you're about ready to get engaged, and then imagine the scenarios happen to your best friend. So I'll take you out of it. And they've been dating a while. They're ready to get engaged, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, one of your buddy's old girlfriend calls. And they dated maybe 5 years ago. And now, okay, so now he's saying, oh, well, maybe rather than making a commitment to my future fiance, maybe I should go and date her to make sure I'm making the right move.
Mm.
Now, can anyone see? I see some people shaking their head. Do you all see the parallel I'm trying to draw?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say you're afraid to go down that lane. Okay, so let's say you meet with that person, and after you meet with that person, you get a postcard in the mail from someone else that basically markets in this area. So what will you do? I guess what I'm doing, Don, is asking you, at what point are you ready to make a decision? Because talking to, and I would let him answer, at what point would you be willing to make a commitment on an agent?
As soon as we talk to him this weekend.
Okay,
This
you
weekend.
talk to him, and then somebody else sends you a postcard. Are you going to talk to them too?
I get what you're saying. No, we got to get to Tampa soon. I don't want this to go on forever.
And the other thing is, and going on, Louise picked up on this, and then I think Christina picked up on it. I can tell you with about 95% certainty, the neighborhood expert, that is the listing expert, if you go on MLS, they still publish who sold the home. There's a high probability they didn't bring the buyer. And so what you want to do is leverage that. So you want to hire someone because they're good at putting signs in and they understand your floor plan, or are you looking for someone that has a broader reach where the buyers are? That's a pretty solid argument. So you were right on track, Louise. Christina, you're right on track. We talked about it this morning. So before we go to the next one, anybody want to make a comment on that question? Push back?
Would
Or
Tim
just-
like an opportunity to like revisit it and close it?
Say it again.
Would Tim like to implement anything that he learned, or should we?
I think we just move on unless you have a question.
I have a question. I'm getting the opposite. So I'm getting where there are, I have a farm, but I'm getting the opposite of that, if that makes sense. So I'm getting sellers in my farm going with other people because just a referral. But since I live here and I am in the, I am the neighborhood expert, I would say I would be getting the opposite.
So
I would
people don't want to use you because you're the expert?
No, people don't want to use me because they have a referral as they know somebody that knows somebody.
Okay, so let's use that scenario.
Okay.
All right, so how do you handle it? Hey, I'm the seller now, and who am I talking to? Where are you?
Mercedes.
Mercedes. Okay, so well, hey, I know you do a lot of work here, Mercedes, but my golf pro's aunt's brother-in-law's boyfriend, referred me an agent to use, and I feel a little bit obligated to talk to them.
Okay, so I understand that your friend knows someone in the business as well.
And by the way, who doesn't? Right? Yes, they know someone in the business.
Okay, so would it hurt to get a second opinion?
Well, you're talking to me now, so that person will be my second opinion. You're my first call.
Okay.
That's my second opinion. So thanks so much for validating what I want to do.
I understand. So what makes you want to look at that person as well?
Well, I mean, you know the area really well. This person comes highly recommended by someone, and I'd feel like I'd be letting my friend down if I didn't at least talk to him.
Okay, I understand. So what about if you talk to him, but please don't move forward without talking to me first.
Okay, let's stop here now because this is mastery.
Okay.
That's like your girlfriend saying, well, I'm going to go date my old this other guy that somebody recommended. I'll say, well, please don't marry him unless you come back and give me a second chance. I don't know that really works. Does anybody? I don't think that works.
Okay.
So it's an easy thing to say, but you're almost coming from a position of weakness. Please just come. Don't do it. Don't sign the paperwork. How else could you attack it? In fact, this is the same coin, you guys. They want to talk to somebody else. Now, I'll give Timothy this. Tim, I don't know if you go with Timothy. He asked a great question. It was a little awkward with it, but it was a right question. I just reversed it. So Mercedes, I'll be the agent. You're the seller.
Okay.
Just off the wild, this is kind of a Matt thing. For the wild chance, what could you hear today, right now, if anything, that would make you feel comfortable moving forward with me?
Well, I don't know you. I know I have this referral from my aunt.
Yeah, I know, but you don't know them either. So, I mean, I'm the neighborhood expert. I'm the neighborhood expert. So I just reverse roles. So what could you hear from me that would make you feel comfortable moving forward?
Well, not, actually, I'm not sure because of the fact that my friend is highly recommending, my aunt is highly recommending, their friend.
Okay.
So
Now,
and they are known they're more well known than you are.
but I thought I thought you were the neighborhood expert. Are we getting lost in this?
No, but these are the combat that I receive from
Okay, well, give
the
me one more minute then. All right, so let me ask you this. What if I made it a win-win?
Okay, can you clarify that?
All right, I can. All right, so this is the better way. I'll use what Louise said earlier. Let's just assume that you didn't get the referral from your aunt, right?
Yes.
Would you feel comfortable hiring me?
Yes.
So the aunt's agent's an unknown. It's just a referral, and everyone go to Starbucks, you'll get another referral. So maybe we can set. So here's my point, you guys. It may not be so much she wants to talk to the other agent. It may be she wants to honor her aunt. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
So how about if we make it a win-win? And this is what I mean. You're ready to hire me until you got that referral. I sell a lot of houses here. All your neighbors' houses I've sold. In fact, before you bought this house, I sold this house before too. So how about we make the decision to move forward, because I know that neighborhood. I live in the neighborhood and I'm close by. And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make it a win for them. They don't even know you want to talk to them yet. I will call them and let them know your home is available first. It's a pretty hot market, and that might be a big favor for them. And we'll let them bring us a buyer first. Would that work for you? So what I'm attempting to do is throw the aunt, give her an excuse. Maybe she's looking for the lifeline to save face with the aunt. Any thoughts on that, you guys?
Didn't she,
I like
another approach, then, didn't she ask what she's gonna base her decision off of, other than the fact that someone's referring them? Like, what's important to them about an agent?
You can, but she doesn't know what that, David, and that would be fine. I attempted it on a little another path, meaning that she was ready to hire me, but now this other agent surfaced, just like Don's, somebody knocked on his door. So she doesn't know what's behind door number 2 yet. She only knows door number 1, which is you. Would be a good question, but I don't know if she can answer it because she hasn't talked to door number 2 yet.
I think you brought up a good point when you mentioned everyone knows there's a Starbucks on every corner. Everyone is an agent. Like, what point do you move forward with the decision or the information you have? That's why you go in for the other than that. Would you feel comfortable moving forward with me? Like the soft close.
So get somebody needs to be muted. I don't know who that is. Would you see who that might be? And get ready to tee up the next one. Polina asked a good question, about would you be willing to make a $500,000 bet on that? Well, she's not really gambling anything. She's just going to have an interview with him. So she hasn't made the commitment yet. And you're not saying, hey, listen, if you don't hire me today, I'm never going to list your house again. Like if that was a personal relationship. Well, if you're going to go back to your old girlfriend, then or boyfriend, then I'll never go out with you again. So we don't have a takeaway. We have to somehow, I think, help her save face. So anyway,
Denny, I just had a Bob Barker thought. It's like, you already know what you have here behind door number 1. You got the grill, you got the patio set, you got the pool feature. What happens if you gamble on door number 2 and it's a bust? Nah. I mean,
well, you guys understand they're not making a decision, and door number 1 will always be available to them. So there's no risk in them talking to somebody else. So I think it's not a risk thing. I think it's like somehow you have to save face. So anyway, who's next, Louise?
Debbie, lucky winner from this morning. Debbie is next. She's working with she's at the table with an expired seller. Surprise her with a medium objection.
All right, Louise, why don't you take it so I can take notes?
Sure.
ring, ring.
Hello.
No.
Oh, no, we're at the table. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, Louise. So after you've heard everything today, are you ready to move forward?
Almost, Debbie.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know that you're going to be at all of the showings.
Okay, well, that's a really interesting question. Louise, I don't know if I would be doing my job if I
just
were
pause a minute. Just pause a minute.
Yeah.
Because again, same here. I'm going to go back here and get the slide up. You guys follow the model, please, because I don't know if you're ever going to get back to it. What is the model? You're going to isolate. So please.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Other than that, anything else keeping us from working together today? And that's not even an objection. That's just a statement. But make sure you guys isolate. Okay. All right. So let's assume you did that. There's nothing else. Keep going.
Okay. Other than that, Louise, are we ready to move forward?
Yeah. Other than that, if you can find a solution or if you can tell me you'll be at every showing, I'll be happy to sign this today.
Okay. So what's important to you about me being at every showing?
Well, I want
What's
to make
most
sure
important?
that people see the Goldie Gold faucets and they see the birdhouse, and that they're privy to like how this lot is 10 square feet larger than the neighbor's lot.
Okay, well, I understand your concern. Agents that are coming in will probably most likely talk to me, and I can explain all that to them. And, I'd be happy to follow up immediately with that agent and tell them anything that you.
So Debbie,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Am I selling?
Yep.
Okay.
Listen, guys, whenever we start telling instead of asking, I don't care how
Yeah,
your tone is, you are selling.
right, right.
So there's a better way, it's by asking,
Yeah.
so get curiosity.
Okay, so, um, what's most important when these, when people come into your home, what do you want them to see? Just,
The Goldie Gold faucets, the birdhouse. I want them to be aware that our yard is 10 square feet larger than the neighbor's yard.
yeah, and I'm sure that when I talk to the agent, I can make sure that I talk to them and point out those features to them, and I'd be more than happy to do that. And I will also be there as much as I can at any showing.
How many questions did you ask me in those 2 sentences?
Yeah,
I thought I was kind of telling that.
Yeah, you were telling.
Yeah.
so let me ask you, how many people, and you just raise your hand if you want to, no judgment, have been asked that by a seller before? They want you at the show.
Only one time.
So it's in our area, it may be common if you have a luxury home, it's $1 million, $4 million.
Right.
It may be more appropriate for a larger home. It
Mhm.
really isn't for a bread and butter home. Now, how many of you guys have a general practitioner as they have a doctor? And the doctor can refer you to a specialist. If you got a bad shoulder or knee, you go to orthopedic guy. How many of you guys would love your general practitioner or nurse practitioner to go along with you when you go and visit with your orthopedic doctor? Does it happen?
No,
It's in the record.
never happens. Yeah, it's in the record, like she said.
So many times what we want to do is, let me just dig a little bit. So Louise, okay, she won't be present at the showings. Well, let me ask you this. Are you willing to lose a qualified buyer for that request because of that?
Oh.
Why would I lose a qualified buyer for that request?
Well, what we're going to have to do, obviously, your schedule, the other agent's schedule, and the buyer's schedule, and my schedule. I'm right now, I'm on this appointment with you. And if I had a seller that required me to be present during the showing, that means every minute, every hour I'm with a client like you, I can't be allowing one of my listings to be shown. And with the increased inventory here, that buyer may just go buy something else. So we'll miss out on that buyer because we cannot coordinate the schedule.
Okay.
So hang on,
Yeah.
just hang on.
Mhm.
So what's more important to you, getting the qualified buyer and maybe putting more money in your pocket, or me being present?
Getting the qualified buyer, but you're at this appointment with me to sell my home. And if I sign with you, I would like to think that you would show it. Like, for me, what's more important is for you to address my home, not other people's homes. So if you're telling me I would miss a buyer because you're going to be on another listing appointment, that wouldn't make me feel very good.
Well,
How
the
can
other,
you say it so that it's more about
the other
me?
buyer is being brought in by another agent. Why would I want to be there? I've got other clients I'm going to be servicing, right? So if I'm with another client, I can't be at your home. But the buyer has access, and you'll know about the appointment, and I'll follow up with the other agent. So my question is, do you want that showing to take place, or do you want to pass on the showing because it doesn't jive with my schedule?
So what if
Okay.
they say, why do I need you then for if somebody else is going to bring the buyer?
Wait a minute. Who on this call, when you list a home, thinks the seller thinks you're supposed to sell it? So I want you
Some
to,
do.
everything's a metaphor to me, guys. So, all right, so put in the chat, I'm kind of curious. Put in the chat, how many agents are in your board or MLS, okay? I'm going to verbally say, I think in Southwest Florida, we probably have, and I'm not talking about licensees, I'm talking about MLS members. We probably have 8,000. Phoenix probably has 18,000.
Mhm.
Way out. 50.
Would you say, so whatever the number is, imagine a tug of war. Now I would say this to a seller. if we're having a tug of war and I've got one end of the rope and 8,000 or 18,000 agents are on the other end of the rope, who most likely is going to win? So you want me to sell it. Here's the thing, I will, but there's a large probability that I'm not going to bring the buyer because I'm going to market to the 18,000 agents over there who have all of those other buyers. Now, does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
So
that makes total sense. Yeah.
So if you're going to hire an agent that you think we're going to go and knock on doors like we're selling Bibles or brushes, that will be the wrong agent because they're not leveraging the rest of the market. So Madeline, does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. So
I got
in
two
other
thoughts.
words, they're hiring you to get them to the closing table, not to bring them the buyer for their property.
In fact, that's a conversation you should have with your agents, and just like a buyer. Like when you have a consultation or a strategy session with a buyer, you should say to them, listen, you're not hiring me to find a home for you. There's a strong probability you will find the home before I do. Why? Because they're in their bathroom in slippers while you're watching, Yellowstone, they're shopping for homes. So is it possible that they're going to see the home before you do? And if they find it, and you don't have this discussion, they're gonna say, well, why am I paying you then if I found the home? Well, you can find a home. That does not mean you're hiring me to help you own it.
To go through the process, to go through the negotiations, to get to the closing table. You're hiring me to do all that stuff, after the home is found. That's just a small part of the whole process.
Yeah,
Denny?
don't let them put you into what is it?
Matt said a couple of things. Matt was, you know what? They really don't want me there. The agent can certainly open the doors and show the home if they're briefed, but the buyer doesn't need me there. The buyer doesn't want me there. It can get really awkward. And then Matt used that analogy about the doctor and the gynecologist. Remember? You don't want me in that room. You remember that from Recon a couple of weeks ago?
Right. Good point.
Tell us
I mean,
more
the
about
buyer wants to have their own conversations, with
Correct.
their agent. And
And
they're going
that
to
could
feel
hurt
really
you.
awkward in front of
And
me.
that-
They may not say what they really think or feel, and may want them to get out of the home much quicker and
What
not
is
make
the
a decision.
analogy, Don, about the doctor and the gynecologist?
What was that?
What did Matt say about the doctor and the gynecologist?
If you're like with the general practitioner and you got to go to the urologist, the gynecologist, you wouldn't want me there. They don't want me there. You want the specialist. That agent knows the buyer better than I do, and the buyer doesn't want me there. It's really, really awkward. And in fact, as I would say to a seller, sometimes the buyer, as Debbie was just alluding to, will get out of the house quicker because you're there, and they won't voice an objection that their agent could handle because they don't want you to be offended or hear it. Whereas if you're not there,
Exactly.
they'll say, geez, I don't like this carpet. Well,
All
gosh,
right, let's move on. Let's move on. I think it was a
Okay.
joke, a gynecologist, a priest, and a taxidermist playing golf or something, the boat together. All right, who's next?
Anyway, those are great points. Thank you.
Okay.
Daniel's at the table with the seller, surprise him with an objection and make it medium.
All right, who's the agent?
Daniel,
All right, Daniel. Whose turn is it? Don, you.
Hey, Don. So I'm excited to get started. How about yourself?
Yeah, I am. I just have one concern. May I share with you what
100%.
it is?
Absolutely.
Just that commission's higher than the other people I've talked to.
Okay, understand that. And which commission is that? Mine or the whole commission of the sale?
No,
You guys notice that's a great question. Gaining clarity. All right, keep going. Good job, Daniel.
no, I don't. Yeah, it's the whole thing. I know that 6% is certainly negotiable, and I'd like to. The other guys said they'd go lower.
Sure. And other than the commission percentage, is there another reason you don't want to move forward today?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay, well, that's good news then. Don, let me tell you a few strategies. Kind of
You said a bad word. You said a bad word.
Share.
strategy. Share.
No. Oh yeah. Don't tell. Never
Share.
say tell.
Okay.
Well, wash your mouth out with soap.
Okay. So Don, a seller's commission on for me is usually 3 apples. And let me tell you why. Well,
Uh,
Share.
let me share why bringing down a buyer's percentage may not be feasible. So it's a really competitive market right now. So a buyer's agent is going to have a little bit more leverage to show 3% homes, because obviously we all do this to put food on the table for our families. Would you agree?
Now, okay,
Sure.
now that was a statement and you cheated with a tie down.
Right.
So we don't want to go down that road. So let me ask you, what is the difference? What fee? You asked him, he said he could get lower. How much lower? Did you quantify it?
No.
When make a note, you guys, if there any number that comes up from them, you've got to figure out, well, what is the number? You've got here, who knows my line? You go on a vacation, take any airline you want. When it comes to having a conversation about numbers, what airline do you fly?
Delta.
Delta, yeah.
You've got to know, all right? For example, I'll help you out here. So Don, they said that they would offer a lower fee. How much lower?
5%.
So 1% lower?
Yeah.
And here's the other step. Louise calls it the better way. I kind of like the time because that goes to my better way listing system. Well, let me ask you then, if I would agree to that fee, if we can agree on fee, would you hire me?
Yeah.
Now, what have I just done? What is the next question? This is kind of like a Queen's Gambit opening move in chess. Meaning there's a very specific pattern here. I quantified it 1%. I asked if we could agree on fee, would you hire me? He said yes. The next question is, okay, well, let me ask you then, why would you hire me instead of the other agent?
I think you're better.
Oh, keep singing my song, baby. You see, I'm now making him defend me. The other thing, rather than let's have this discussion. This is probably a good time to have it. Louise has this, or I think she'll put it in the chat. Daniel?
Yep.
I don't think you've been on the call when I talked about this. So, all right. So my fee is 3 apples. You want to your total fee, you wanted to have 5 apples. So then are you okay then with 2 apples going to the buyer's agent?
Yep.
So there is no discussion about my fee. So that's like asking someone to marry me and they love me but don't like my parents. Okay, well, am I okay? We're not marrying my parents, you're marrying me. You've got the listing. Don't go down with the ship for the buyer's agent commission.
Right, I learned that this morning. Yeah.
So, and here's the reason why, and I don't know if you can see it behind me. Louise might put it in the chat. This is in the slides, so if you get that QR code, this is in there. Notice I call the compensation incentives. So I'm going to role play with you, Daniel. All right, so now you are the seller. So, all right, so you're agreeing to 3 apples to me. You want 2 apples. Well, first of all, and I'm asking you, if you're the quiet one, this is not a role play. Just give me your opinion. Do you care if they co-broke 3% or 2%? Do you care?
No, I care about the bottom dollar.
Believe me, I see, you don't care about that. What the buyer's agent should worry about their value proposition and the compensation 2%, 1%, 0%, or 3% doesn't affect the sale of the home. Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not, I guess. I mean, I'm thinking in my head that, there are going to be, could very conceivably be less buyers coming to look at your home because they look around the neighborhood or the community and they see a lot more homes offering 3%, and then they don't have to come out of pocket.
How are they going to know?
Because they're like, they can ask their agent and their
Sure.
agent.
Okay, so I'm gonna play that. Is that Carrie? So I'm gonna say, well, I wanna see
That's-
that house over there. And that house, that seller's not paying any buyer agent fee. What are you gonna tell me if I'm the buyer and they're not offering compensation? Well, probably if you handle it right, should you not have had a conversation with your buyer up front about how that's supposed to work?
Oh, yeah, you definitely would have had a conversation at the buyer consultation, but the buyer may have specified that, hey, you know, yeah, I know I owe you this 3%, but I'm not comfortable. I would rather not have to come up with all that money. I've got closing costs and down payment and all this other stuff. So if we can somehow negotiate, or just
here's
not
the
see homes that
I
don't.
want you to understand, these are the outcomes for a seller offering low to no incentive. There's only 4. Can you all see that behind me?
Yeah, it's a little
Mhm.
fuzzy, but I can
All
see
right,
it.
so I may have to change that background, but the buyer may instruct the buyer's agent not to show them any homes requiring
Right.
them, the buyer, to pay any portion of the buyer agent compensation, right?
Right, right.
Number 2, this buyer may submit an offer that stipulates that the seller pays it. Number
Mhm.
3 is they may submit an offer and they subtracted that amount from their offer price.
Mhm.
And the last one is they may want to see the house anyway. So the bottom line is this. This is what I want you to know, and now we're getting into real estate trigonometry.
Mm.
What makes a home sell? Say it.
Price.
Features and
Price.
benefits.
No, it's not features. No.
Okay,
Price.
no,
Price.
Positioning,
price.
positioning.
No, it's not condition.
Demand. Someone's interested.
The market. Whatever win-win they can negotiate.
No, well, no, I'm being very dogmatic right now, okay?
The owner, the
Location.
seller.
Price,
Yeah, I did say price secondly. Yeah,
price, period.
okay.
We've had builders offering new home constructions, and when they have inventory, they don't let it sit. This is a good point for you guys in the marketplace. I want you to remember this. Builders sell their product because they're transactional. It's a transaction to them. The typical mom and pop that we work with on a resale is emotion. They're not transactional. And so the biggest stumbling block and the biggest skill that we should learn as an agent is how to deal with the emotion, because that is what's keeping people from getting their home positioned right or staged properly, etc. A builder, they get it. Now, we've had builders in the past. In the last year, I can remember this one condo complex, high rise on the water, really nice location, had a hard time selling it. So they were offering a real estate agent, if they brought them a buyer, a Mercedes.
Yeah, I've seen those incentives. Yeah.
How many times have we in the past, and I've been guilty of this before I saw the light, we have a listing that's not selling, and we would offer a bonus to the selling agent. Have you seen that?
That's
Yep.
most common. Yeah.
No, you don't have to do that. For example, let's assume the seller is not paying the buyer anything to the buyer's agent, nothing. And now I'm gonna give you an extreme example. The seller decides to cut the price in half. If that agent will not show them that house, what will that buyer do?
Buy it.
They will find a way, just like water rolling downhill, they will find a way to get to that. Buyers know value and nothing will stop them, just like water running down a mountain. You can't stop the buyer from doing it. So Daniel, going back to your role play, you had the listing at 3 apples. If they want to pay, if they want their total fee to be 5, you just won it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Keep it simple, stupid. So it's funny because it's a build up in your head, but then when you explain it, you're like, okay, I should have just said that, knuckle bump right down and on to the next. But you would obviously share the strategies and pros and cons after that.
Well, I would go into the sheet after the knuckle bump, you betcha.
Okay. And then if he was stubborn and was like, nope, 2% to the buyer, then you do it and reassessed in 10 to 15 days or 15 to 30 days.
Okay, and then what would you do after 15 days? Raise the incentive?
Well, you would throw the not it's almost like a price reduction conversation, the sheet with the fishing, the 3 steps. So you
Yeah,
would
you
introduce
reposition the home. And that's the point. You guys, buyer agent compensation has nothing to do with your selling your home. It has to do with the value, the positioning of the home. All those other things you mentioned, the staging, the condition, location, well, that's all important, but that's all factored in the price. So are you getting that kind of at a guttural level? Do you all getting that in your bones, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm understanding it much
You
better.
want to give,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, you want to give the incentive to the buyer. I'll bet that builder didn't give away a lot of Mercedes, Denny, but when they slashed the price, they sold some units. They didn't have to buy a bunch of Mercedes.
That's a fallacy of, back in the given, hey, you bring me a buyer, I'll give you a $3,000 sales bonus. You're incentivizing the wrong person. The
Right.
agent is happy to bring the buyer for the typical 2 apples or 3 apples. But the buyer doesn't want it. Maria, you want to say something?
Yes, I had a question. So let's say you're just arguing with them over your commission, just your commission, and
Okay,
they're
good.
saying that someone is able to do it for lower. So I do like how you say, why would you hire me instead of that other agent if I agree to your fee?
Mhm.
And then can you bring in, would it be a good idea to bring in an example and say, when you are picking a dentist, do you pick the one that offers the best value or is the one that charges the least?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great parallel. It'd be
Mhm.
great.
And then once they say that, like, how would you go from there? Like they say, well, obviously I'll pick the one that's better. And then how would you tie it into real estate?
Well, let's do a quick role play because now you've got all these different dangling things. So let's just start. You're at the table. You said, all right, my fee is this. And somebody said they do it for 2 apples. My fee is 3 apples. And would you hire me if we agree on fee? If I were 2 apples, would you hire me?
Yes.
And why would you hire me instead of the other agent? So that's where we were before. Now you're going to tell me why I'm better, right?
Right.
So let's take 45 minutes and tell me why I'm better.
Well, you just did more homework, Danny, and I feel like you're more qualified to sell this home.
Okay. So let me ask you, do you think all agents are equal?
No.
So if you think someone's going to do a better job, better presentation, better ability to negotiate, all of those things, do you think that will help you? I mean, you said you would hire me because I'm a better agent. Do you think being a better agent would put more money in your pocket?
Yes, but I also don't want to overpay for the agent. Do you know what I mean?
Well, what do you mean by overpay? Now, notice I did say I understand. Sometimes I want you, as we work on mastery, you're going to work on different reactions. Like if they say something stupid, don't say I understand.
Yeah.
You say, are you nuts? No, you have a different acknowledgement. So, all right, so you don't want to overpay. What do you mean by that?
Well, I just want to, I'm fine with what everyone is charging. Like a little bit more, a little bit less is fine, but I don't want to pay anything crazy. And I'm not saying you're charging crazy, but if another agent is able to do it for 2, then I would rather do that.
What if an agent was willing to do it for 1?
Well, I don't want to hire anyone like that's super discounted because I don't trust that.
So you don't want, why wouldn't you hire a discount agent?
Because they're probably going to do a really bad job.
Well, what do you call the 2%?
Like everyone else.
Well, I'm not, I'm 3. And let me ask you this. Do you guys have Chick-fil-A in your town?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I think most people do.
So are they the cheapest sandwich out there?
No.
No, they're not.
Have you ever seen the line, the people lined up to buy Chick-fil-A?
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the cheapest though.
No.
Why do they have the line? And then with the 9-iron, the distance of the 9-iron is restaurants with nobody waiting.
Quality.
So if it matters on a chicken sandwich, How about someone that's basically, for example, you seem to be well put together, and I don't know how I would exactly do this, but you know, you're a very pretty person. Do you do your own hair? Do you get your hair cut? Do you do it yourself?
No, of course not.
Well, you probably like someone, right? My wife finds someone if hairdresser moved. My wife's moving. Okay. So could you find someone to do it cheaper, Maria?
No, I would not find someone to do it cheaper.
No, could you?
I could, but I would not be as satisfied as I would with someone who charges more.
Well, we talked about the value of a chicken sandwich. We're talking about a haircut, and you wouldn't settle. Do you think selling a $500,000 or $1 million home is a big deal?
It is a big deal.
And so why are you being value foolish then when it comes to the big ticket items and you're not with the small items? I'm going to stop. Now, that's a pretty direct
That's a good
question.
point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, you may not, you know, I get a little bit wound up a little bit when I'm with you guys, but I can be very smooth with a customer. I'm attempting to help you understand different avenues, different questions. Remember, it's going back to your role play, Daniel. We don't, and this is when we talked about Debbie selling. You don't have to sell. All we have to do is help them see the other side of the coin, like chicken sandwich, haircut. There's a bazillion things. Doctor. I bet they're not wearing the cheapest sunglasses. Why? Because there's a quality. Their eyes are important. I got this.
A quick question.
Okay.
Regarding Daniel's role play. So say now it's 15 days, right? And they're still offering 2% towards the buyer's agent, but nothing else has changed. So the price is still the same. They're still offering 2% compensation towards the buyer's agent. Is the next step at that point to, I guess, lower the price or offer incentives to the buyer? Which one would be best?
Who would like to answer that? We won't do it. Louise and we won't do it. I want you guys to answer. Answer, guys.
I assume
Lower the
give
price.
them
Same thing.
a seller
Lower
net
the
sheet
price.
that shows
Lower
both.
the price.
Lower the price is incentivizing the buyer.
The price.
I assume a seller net sheet showing both options and let them choose.
No, well, I got
Nope.
it, but no, I don't want you to do that, Daniel. All right, so here, I'll make a ridiculous example. All right, so let's say they're offering 2 apples. Let's take the commission, 2 apples equals $20,000. Let's take the professional fee to 10 apples. Instead of $20,000, they're gonna make $100,000. Offer that as a co-broke and see if it moves the needle. It will not. That's the same as giving you a Mercedes.
So would you say lowering the price is better than offering 7,000 towards the buyer's closing costs?
Oh, I see what you're
Bring
saying.
in? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I thought, okay, well, we're doing
Oh,
two.
buyer incentives, not buyer agent incentives.
No,
Buyer.
no, buyer's incentives. Yeah.
All right, so here's my point on that. Again, that's a fair question, and this is kind of maybe a Miller Lite, like less filling tastes great argument, right?
Right.
I've always liked to position the home with the lowest possible price. Because they've got that built in. The seller, if they're going to pay 3%, $9,000, let's say, or $15,000 in closing costs, I'd rather lower the price by $15,000 because it makes it more attractive and more eyeballs are on it. Even if and maybe it might attract someone who doesn't need the $15,000 in closing costs. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. That's solid. Yep. That makes sense.
Wow, we didn't get down to the list. I have time for another. I've got a hard stop at 2 today. So what else do we have, Louise? What else would you guys like to?
Well, Paulina, buyer high HOA and hard. The buyer is concerned about the high HOA fees.
All right, so you're the agent then. I am. Unless you want me to be the agent. Which one do you want, Paulina?
Well, it's between the buyer's agent and the listing agent. So the buyer's agent, I'm representing the seller, and the buyer's agent looked at the property and said, My buyers like the property, but the HOA is high. Can your sellers negotiate anything about it?
Okay, so, what would you like my seller to do, Lena?
Well, I don't know, maybe like pay down some of the HOA fees for a year or two, help my buyers out.
So what now? All right, let's stop. What's the difference between that? Does it matter about HOA? What they're doing is they want to make a lower offer. Does it matter what it's for? Maybe the seller is not including the avocado green refrigerator in the garage, it's the beer refrigerator, because it's a memory item, keepsake, and the buyer wants it. It's a point of negotiation. So does it matter what it is? Now, okay, so you're gonna cut, you want a $3,000 concession because of HOA?
Or more. So I'm just trying to find out what can your sellers do?
All right, I had this discussion with my team today. This was beat to me. So I just know it from reflex. Hey, listen, Polina, I've learned never to speak for the seller. If you got a buyer that's interested in a realistic number, let me see something on paper. I'll see what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that even if the seller said, hey, look, we got to get moved to Sandusky and right away. So I'm not blinking, you guys. I'm not cracking. You'll never see that. Hey, I'd say that my seller's real anxious, so I think I can get that through.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what I've had, number one, you don't know if the seller's going to follow through on that. So you just put yourself out on an island. Number two, have you ever had a friend or family member and a friend or something of the seller talk to you? Maybe it wasn't supposed to be kind of like a little plant, but it turned out that the person you're talking to somehow knew the seller, and what you said got back to them.
No.
So you always have to assume. Now, nowadays, when you're showing a home, there's a high probability there's video cameras and all kinds of stuff going on. I remember that was just coming into vogue, maybe 10 years ago. And I had, not that I said a lot of things anyway, but I became very cognitive of the possibility somebody could overhear what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's a big issue. It's just $3,000. Probably you could negotiate that.
What is the line that your team shared with you? Denny?
The line is, you talking to me?
Yeah.
I've learned never to speak for the seller. I've learned never to speak for the buyer. So whatever you have, I'll go present it.
I'm glad she brought that up because we have such high HOA fees here in Midtown and Atlanta. Really extraordinary HOA fees.
Let me share one thought on HOA.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's assume that there's a new law. Trump signs another executive order that homes have to have their own homeowners association individually.
Hmm.
Now, people are complaining about maintenance fees in Florida. We've got, insurance going up, all kinds of stuff going up, right? But here's the thing. We have that new law because that building in Sunrise fell down. So that what they're doing is they want these places to be structurally sound. They're making sure that their structure, and they have inspections. They make sure that there's a sinking fund for the roof replacement, the blacktop replacement, the pickleball replacement. So all of that stuff goes into a budget. How many sellers have we've listed their homes and they need new plumbing, new roof, but they don't have the money for it? So when you start having a practical conversation about HOA fees or condominium association fees, when you look at everything that's included, if you were to put a line item into a single family home, it's not any more expensive when you factor in they're creating sinking funds for deferred maintenance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's not as drastic as it really appears when you put everything in. And so I don't want to pay maintenance fees. Okay, so you're gonna hire someone to do your lawn, you're gonna pay your own cable, if you want security, all those things that are in the HOA fee, you're gonna have to join a gym, join the pickleball club, all of that. When you look at that, there's
Yeah, you're
law-
just you're looking at it line by line, everything that it's including that you would have to pay for.
HOA is
Yeah.
not. I don't think Doge could go into HOA and find a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse because they have to document them. So anyway, it's just not as
Big of a
bad.
deal.
So I
Yeah.
have to run. You guys, really quick, if you don't have this, please, if you want the free stuff, happy to give it to you. I appreciate you being on Mastering.